And so Professor Joe Caravaggio, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Close.
You're on.
Close
It's
enough.
on recommended tips and strategies to Acclimate. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we had a lot of good discussion. I think just a couple of highlights would be learning from each other. So if you have the opportunity to observe somebody's class, you know, we're all using Blackboard, but maybe we're using Blackboard in different ways. So just kind of just seeing how it's being used or how much it's being used can really be beneficial. One idea is not grading the first draft of a project, which I thought was pretty interesting. So allowing students, you know, maybe credit for completing it, but then the opportunity to build on versions and maybe is more applicable to some programs versus others. Let's see, meeting students where they are. I think that's a quote that I wrote down, whether it's if you feel a lot of conversation is happening on, let's say, Slack or Discord or WhatsApp, or having some sort of, wherever students are kind of making the most of the kind of community aspect of class, to just kind of encourage that wherever it is. And rather than saying you have to do it on this platform or through this email or this discussion post or whatever it is. And then we had like a pretty good brainstorm about how we are going to provide a, what's a good word? Quality, you know, preserved integrity version of the in-person class if somebody is sick, or, you know, because, you know, if you test positive, anybody within a 6-foot radius of you also has to take certain precautions and quarantine and test. So for all of those students who are then maybe going to miss the next class, we were brainstorming some ways to maybe have a recorded high flex version that's made available on a case-by-case basis, or maybe having, Nelson was saying he has an entire asynchronous component to all of his in-person classes. So there's, you know, there's a reading, asynchronous content, and an in-class component to everything. So maybe some sort of version of that, where students who are unable to be in person can still get what they need and move forward. So that's like a very compact version, but it was a really, some good brainstorming going on.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So last semester, for several reasons, was very challenging. And I tried to give myself a grade at the end of every teaching semester. And this is probably the lowest grade I've ever given myself in all of my years of teaching. And I gave myself a C+ B-. I just was not happy how my semester ended. And that's what I like about day 0, which is what I was telling someone earlier, because I get to start off with an A+. And my goal as I start classes tomorrow is to give myself to maintain my A+ status. I just want to hold an A until I get to the spring break. And that is about how my positivity, my engaging with students, managing my time, how flexible I can be. I'm just thinking about all the ways. I just want to check all these boxes and stay in that space. And if I am intentional, I think I might be able to, well, I know I'll be able to end the semester with a higher grade, but I'm really trying to stay in that zone. So that's what I'm tomorrow, I go into the classroom. It's the only, you know, I'm starting off with a 4.0. I'm starting off with A+. And I'm going to see how long I can maintain it. And here's hoping. So that's my strategy.
Who wants to share their strategy?
Have compassion. I think when going back and remembering the students will be on lines in front of the building, have compassion for our students and have compassion for our colleagues, because it's a difficult time.
Well said. Thank you, Lauren. AJ?
So full disclosure, I'm not teaching this semester, but one thing that I've been seriously considering, and I've been doing for myself because I'm stressed out and easily distracted right now, is I actually have an app that counts down 30 minutes at a time and then gives me a 5-minute break. And I do that because I can do anything for a certain number of minutes without distraction. But if I say I'm going to work on something for 2 hours, I'm going to be on my email and Facebook and the news, right? The news is very alluring. So, you know, what I would encourage students, as I do myself, is I can do anything for 10 minutes or 20. For me, my max is 30, right? Whatever it is, guarantee yourself that time, put everything else away and focus for just that time and see how it goes. And they might keep going past that. I find myself going past 30 minutes. Once I get started, I'm good. I just can't start.
If I may tag on that. Thank you. I would just like to add that when we are in the middle of this stressful times, it's always a good idea to think back about those moments when we had some relaxing moments, and just bring that memory back to our everyday life, and make sure that we take some minutes to simply picture that and be able to relax for a few minutes. I have a nice memory of while I was teaching in the Dominican Republic a while ago. Something that I shared in the group I was in, and also I published this on Facebook and also shared it with one of my colleagues in the English department. I'm willing to share it here on the chat, and if anyone is willing to read it later, but I encourage everyone to look back into those memories we have. We all have had these times when we felt totally in the middle of a peaceful environment, whether it was sitting at a bench at a park, watching kids play, people passing by, or sitting at a beach, watching the waves go back and forth, or simply staring at a bonfire in the middle of the night. So I'm willing to share this memory I have in the chat if you want to simply read it later, paste it, or do whatever you want. And you can just build up on that. But I encourage everyone to take some time out and be able to relive that moment.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks
very,
for sharing that.
you're very welcome.
We have
Clara?
Clara and then Hector.
Oh, okay, sure.
Thank you. I think in general, always, I think that whenever something happens or something is going on, I think that we are all part of making things happen. I like this idea. I don't think anything is a one-way street. I always think everybody's part of things happening. So I think that in this moment, I tried to do it last semester and I'm trying to improve this or to use the moment because I think with the idea that really we are all part of not getting contagious. We are all part of making a safe environment in the classroom. This is an idea that is very easy for the students to understand. If we all want to take care of each other, an example, we are all going to wear the mask. So we are all keeping safe. It's a simple example, but within that, I think it's something I can use or that I think is going to help me also to help the students understand learning is not a one-way street. It's not just what the professor does. For something happen in this classroom, for something happen to each of you, for you to get the best out of this experience, the student also have to put themselves there. So, we are all putting ourselves there, the solutions or to have a better experience. Everybody needs to contribute and be proactive. Sometimes the students expect too much, what to do, how to do it, or exactly what is the knowledge, but there is another part that sometimes is a little bit more passive. And I think this experience and going through this can help us, right, to make also students understand you're just as important as the teacher. Whatever they do is as important as the teacher. Nothing for me is a one-way street. I can't, I can't. I need to count with the other part, with the other people there. And the students need to know that the amount of power they have in this happening, how much we need them for this to work. We can do it without them, but it's not just a matter of your present. It's a matter of how you participate and how you believe in that whatever you say is super important in that class. And I think the COVID is very easy. If we don't all do something, if someone notices that, speak and say, so we are all safe. It's the same thing. So that's what I think I'm going to try to, take advantage of this situation.
I recently read a book, I believe pronounced Maria Caba is he's a community organizer, in quotes, more than that, community change agent. And she has a chapter in her book about that's titled Hope is a Discipline. And I thought that was and it talks about those of us who are dealing with change work of one kind or another, and I think we're all engaged in change work. It's very easy for us to lose, to get down, to get burnt out, to get depressed. And hope is a discipline. It's not something that's just going to be there on any given morning. It's not going to stay, and that you actively have to pursue maintaining hope in the same way that you have to pursue maintaining physical health, or if you're in whatever you're into. And so taking time, as Juan pointed out, personal time, but doing on a regular basis. It's a discipline that has to be encouraged, has to be reinforced, and has to be continuous in order to be able to deal. That doesn't mean we won't get down, doesn't mean, but it does mean we're fighting it or moving positively in a direction that's going to make it easier or make it harder for us to fall into those pitfalls. Thank you
very much. Well said. Who was next? Denise?
Good morning, everyone. I think listening to all the conversations, I tried to reflect on what I was going to do differently for the semester. And I have really been motivated by engaging in the computational thinking initiatives. And one thing I'm excited about is integrating what I've learned over the last 6 months into my courses this semester. And I think that by being a little bit motivated myself, I will help students to become motivated if they're not motivated. At least I will do my best to try to do that. I think it's very helpful for us, even though many of us are sad. I've had death in my family. I'm experiencing it right now with a funeral next week. But we have to move ourselves beyond all of the frustrating things that surround us, and try to focus on something, even if it's just one thing that's positive, that we can share with our students to help them to start to move out of whatever spaces, if they're negative or if they can't focus. We have to try to help them do it, but we can only do that, I think, by doing it ourselves and then helping them to do the same. So I encourage each of you to get excited about something that you're going to do in your courses. And by being a little bit excited, it might engage our students and help them to come out of a negative space if they are there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.